Mike, we were just talking about who should be the highest paid player in the league. If we take away quarterbacks here, who would you put in that position?
Well, if it's a football decision, you got to look at pass rushers, I think. If you're talking about what kind of an impact someone can have on a team from a marketing standpoint, selling tickets, et cetera, then maybe you look at an Odell Beckham Jr., a guy that excites a fan base, a guy that turns a team into a national brand like Odell Beckham Jr. would do. But I say typically it goes quarterback and then pass rusher.
Do you think this is going to be a big deal with Odell Beckham saying he would like to be? There's nothing wrong with saying I'd like to be the highest paid player, but when you demand to be the highest paid player, then it becomes an issue, which I don't believe he's demanded anything yet. But where are we going with contract talks with Beckham?
Well, here's the challenge for the Giants, because they have Odell Beckham Jr. for 2 more years before he would be eligible for the franchise tag. I think the closer he gets to the franchise tag, Dan, the more likely he has a Kirk Cousins type of a realization that, you know what, I can make a lot more money and I can control my destiny if I just say I'm not doing a long-term contract. I'll take the franchise tag in 2019. I'll take it in 2020. I'll take it in 2021. I'll keep making more and more money, and eventually you won't be able to sign me, and I'll hit the open market. And I think that the Giants would be wise to put together a really good offer, get it on the table now, when he's only making $1.8 million this year, and you're going to replace that with a huge payday. Do it now before he starts to realize that he can play this out like Kirk Cousins did and make a lot more money that way.
Least valuable position in the NFL is what?
Other than kicker and punter and running back.
Didn't used to be, right?
Well, I mean, here's what happened. Remember when Reggie Bush was the 2nd overall pick in 2006, and we thought he was going to be the next Gale Sayers, and he goes to New Orleans, and they use 3 running backs all the time?
Yeah.
You know, at some point the teams realized we can take this position where we used to have a workhorse who would end up getting paid a lot of money, and by the time we pay him all that money, he's not nearly as good anymore, like a Sean Alexander who fell apart a year or 2 after he got his big contract. So we dilute the position. We use multiple players. Nobody becomes a superstar, and we don't have to overpay a running back. And we can find it occurred to me about 10 years ago or so, Dan. I used to go to all the West Virginia football games, and every major college has a guy that you could put in the NFL. If you block for him, if you teach him how to hold on to the football when he's hit by a grown man, and if you trust him in pass protection, you can have plenty of running backs who can get it done. And I think the NFL realized these are far more interchangeable than we previously believed, so we're going to undermine this position, and that's why there's so many good running backs that are out there. First round of the draft, second round, all the way through to undrafted.
But then let me look at the Dallas Cowboys situation with Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. Who's more important? Who's going to be the guy who gets the big contract out of those two?
The quarterback. He's going to play longer. You know, with Ezekiel Elliott, they may just chew him up, and he may be done in 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. Now, short term, I think it's important to have Ezekiel Elliott because Dak Prescott is still learning. And I think this is one of the reasons why Jerry Jones is very skittish about the idea of Ezekiel Elliott missing the first couple games of the year if he gets suspended. You've got changes on the offensive line. You've got defenses that have had 7 months to figure out how to stop Dak Prescott. You take away the primary balance that is going to help Dak Prescott. You take away Ezekiel Elliott, all of a sudden it's all on Dak Prescott. And then you got to worry about him getting injured without Ezekiel Elliott there to keep the defenses honest.
Before your phone kind of blitzes out on me here, Colin Kaepernick, the possibility with the Ravens is what now of latching on?
0.
Oh, it's over because they brought in Olsen?
A guy nobody ever heard of from a team nobody ever heard of in a league nobody ever heard of. But it's a camp arm. I mean, and that'll be the excuse for the next month.
Oh, man.
We're signing camp arms, and Colin Kaepernick isn't a camp arm. And has anybody even offered to make him a camp arm? I don't know. I think they're afraid to offer him that job because they're afraid he's going to say, I'll take it.
Oh, I thought there was a little momentum there that maybe with John Harbaugh, that Jim coached him at San Francisco, and his offensive coordinator is there with the Ravens, that this kind of made a perfect fit for him. And I know the Flacco injury, we don't know the severity of. Let's say there's a little bit more to the Flacco injury. Is there a little bit more to the Kaepernick situation then?
Well, I think there should be. Hey, I already think he should be number 2 instead of Ryan Mallett.
Yeah. Wow.
But, I look, there are decisions being made at much higher level than coach or GM when it comes to Colin Kaepernick at many NFL teams. And I think we all know that.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Have a great weekend. We appreciate it.
All right, Dan. See you, buddy.
That's Mike Florio. Pro Football Talk Live is back on NBC Sports Radio and NBC Sports Network.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.